Do you feel that? That chill creeping up your spine? The air in here, it's heavy, isn't it? Almost like the room itself is holding its breath. Maybe it's because of the story I'm about to tell you. A story that no one dares to speak of once the sun goes down. It's about a place not too far from here, actually. A place that stands at the edge of town, forgotten and left to rot under the weight of its dark history. They call it the Whispering Manor. Have you heard of it? No? Well, that's probably for the best. Though, it makes me wonder how you've managed to escape the rumors. You see, Whispering Manor isn't just any old house. No. It's more than just creaky floorboards and cobwebs and forgotten corners. It's alive. Or at least, that's what they say. The house is old. Older than anyone can really remember. Some say it was built long before this town even existed, by a man whose name has been forgotten to time. But the house, well, the house hasn't forgotten. It remembers everything. And it whispers. Now, the whispers aren't loud, no. You'd hardly notice them at first, just a soft sound, like wind slipping through the cracks of the old windows. But if you're unlucky enough to stay inside, especially after nightfall, that's when the whispers get louder. That's when they start calling your name. It was about 50 years ago when the first family moved in. The Holbrooks, they were called. A happy family, father, mother, 2 children and a dog named Jasper. They had no idea what they were stepping into. To them, the manor was just an old sprawling house that needed a bit of care. They thought it would be a place to start fresh and make new memories. But the house had other plans. At first, everything seemed to be fine. The Holbrooks moved in during late summer and the sun was still shining. The days were long. They spent weeks restoring the manor, cleaning, painting, filling it with their belongings. But by the time autumn came, things shifted. It started with small things. The sound of footsteps in empty hallways, doors closing on their own, shadows just moving out of sight. But it was the whispers that got to them. At first, they thought it was just the wind. Harmless enough. But the whispers, they grew clearer. More distinct. Get out. Leave. You don't belong here. The Holbrooks brushed it off, of course. I mean, what else could they do? Leave their new home because of some creaky old floors and a few strange noises? No, they stayed. But by the time winter set in, the house wasn't being subtle anymore. It was hungry. The children were the first to notice that something was terribly wrong. Little Sophie, the youngest, she kept telling her parents about the woman she saw in the garden. Pale, with long dark hair that covered her face. Every morning she'd be out there, standing perfectly still, staring up at Sophie's window. But no one else could see her. Her brother, Jack, started waking up in the middle of the night screaming. He said someone was standing at the foot of his bed, whispering to him. A figure in the dark with hollow eyes and cold breath that felt like ice on his skin. And then, the dog, poor Jasper. One morning, he vanished. The family searched everywhere, but he was gone. A week later, they found him in the basement. Rather, what was left of him. The father, Mr. Holbrook, tried to rationalize everything. He wasn't the type to believe in ghosts or spirits. He thought it was all just stress. Or maybe the house settling. But then, he started hearing them. The whispers. Every night, growing louder until he couldn't sleep. They say he tried to leave one night, packed up a bag and made out for the door, but he never made it out. The house wouldn't let him. He found himself standing in the front of the fireplace, hours later, his legs refusing to carry him anywhere else. The whispers, they wouldn't stop. They were coming from inside the walls. It wasn't long after that Mrs. Holbrook lost her mind. She would stand still in the middle of the living room, staring at nothing, muttering to herself about the woman in the garden. One night, she vanished too. Some say she wandered into the woods and never came back. Others think the house took her. One by one, they all disappeared. First, Mrs. Holbrook, then little Sophie, then Jack, until only Mr. Holbrook remained, wandering the halls of that empty, cursed house, waiting for the day it would come for him too. No one knows exactly how it happened, but they say the house devoured him, that he was found months later, his body twisted and broken at the foot of a grand staircase, as if he'd fallen from a great height. But the thing is, there are no high places in that house, no second floors, just the whispers, always whispering, always watching. After that, no one dared go near Whispering Manor. It'd been left to rot, untouched for decades. But if you stand outside on a quiet night, just like this one, you can still hear them, the whispers. They say the house calls out for more, that it's hungry, that it's waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to cross its threshold again. But you wouldn't go there, would you? You wouldn't want to be one of those poor souls drawn in by curiosity, stepping to a place that doesn't want to let you go. I've heard stories about people who've tried. They think they're being brave. They think they'll uncover some great secret hidden in the manor's walls, but they always come out changed, if they come out at all. One man, about 10 years ago, he thought he could unravel the mystery. He was an investigator, someone who dealt with so-called haunted places. He laughed at the idea of a house being cursed, but the moment he stepped foot inside, everything changed. He never laughed again. When they found him, because they always do find them eventually, he was huddled in a corner, rocking back and forth, mumbling incoherently. His eyes, well, let's say his eyes had gone completely white, as if he'd seen something so horrible, so unspeakable, that his mind had shattered. And do you know what they say he was whispering? the same thing over and over, in a voice that barely sounded human anymore. The house knows. The house remembers. It's coming for us. But you don't believe in such things, do you? Ghosts, haunted houses, curses. They're just stories. Just figments of overactive imaginations. Except for one thing. Whispering Manor is real. It's still out there, waiting in the dark. And the next time the wind howls through the trees, or you hear a strange noise in the middle of the night, maybe you'll wonder. Maybe you'll think of the whispers, and maybe, just maybe, you'll hear them calling your name. But don't worry, it's just a story. Just a tale to send shivers down your spine. After all, you're safe here, aren't you? The manor is miles away. The whispers can't reach you here. At least, not yet. And if you hear the whispers tonight, don't